The Athene Real Talk Podcast explores controversial ideas to stimulate debate and active thinking. These ideas do not always reflect Athene's personal views. Welcome to the Athene Real Talk Podcast.
He has been called the best gamer in the world, hands down.
World-famous gamer and philanthropist Athene.
Gaming for Good, it's called, has raised more than $20 million.
Using his notoriety to raise money for charity.
On activism, science, culture, and self-development.
Proud to have him in the studio today. I would not want to take you on in a video game.
Hi Athene, what does all this human logic matter in the vast space of the cosmos? We are small and insignificant as fuck. Is that truly what you think? You know, these kind of arguments are merely backwards rationalizations. You don't care about that shit. You don't even believe what you're typing yourself. Because when it comes down to your experience and your food and your sex and all your life, all these things matter enough to you. Coming saying, oh, life is all meaningless and all that shit. They're just lying, making bullshit excuses because their life seems to be worth enough living. So everything is really that meaningless. Why even live? Because it feels good? Why even care about it feeling good? Why even care for life at all? Why not just going around and just do everything you can to fulfill your desires? Killing, raping, whatever the fuck, what you can get away with. So they see that their own moral compass just completely implodes when you just go pure that route. But even that, it's a fallacy. What do you mean? How is that a fallacy? What does it all matter in the name of cosmos? It's not about in the name of cosmos. It's not about relative to the universe. You always have a subjective reference frame. When you talk about purpose, meaning you're speaking relative to something. If you wouldn't exist, if humans wouldn't exist, the concept of purpose and meaning wouldn't exist either. Our brain has a tendency to think binary, good or bad. There is purpose or there is no purpose. But if you take humans out of the equation, there is no such a thing as there is no purpose. The concept of purpose just doesn't exist. You need humans or you need conscious beings in order for purpose to even have a meaning. So obviously it's defined within that framework. And even that, if you go and make a statement where you say A is true, but for A to be true, it goes against A, they call that a performative contradiction because it contradicts your own argument. If you make a statement saying oh yeah, we shouldn't all exist, whatever, you're already contradicting your own argument because you existing is part of the equation. It's part of the argument. It's actually the main premise of your argument is that you need to exist to make the argument. So if you take that out of the equation, you're contradicting yourself. And some people might say yeah, but that means that you are central, right? Yeah, but what is you? You got to define you. Because you is not your identity and your story. You is much more than that. Everything that brought about what you are. The thoughts, the experience, the people around you. All of that is part of you. So relative to that, you got to look at it from a more collective awareness. And then being consistent within that framework is what purpose is. That's why we even exist. So even from a pure logical perspective, where you just look at consistency, the argument where you take away the subjective reference frame from the equation already contradicts itself because you need it to make the argument. When you take away the framework of the argument, the rules change. Does time and space even exist without a conscious observer? What is the framework? What is the logic in a different reference frame that is completely different than what we are? So consistency is within a framework of what you are. It's important to understand that. And when I say what you are, I'm not saying your beliefs or emotions or feelings. I'm really talking about the actual real deal, the patterns, the mathematical framework. Will I be happy if I'm consistent? Well, there is quite a funny thing. Being fully consistent takes away all your cognitive dissonance. Because the only thing that is between your cognitive dissonance, which is your inner conflict, and your peace of mind is understanding why it's there. With understanding, you can overcome everything. Even aging, even cancer, anything you can overcome with understanding. So when you tell me Athene, will I be happy when I'm consistent? I would tell you, you're already contradicting yourself. Because if happiness is what drives you, then you cannot be consistent. Because happiness is not what life is about. Happiness is merely a chemical mechanism for life to thrive. You think happiness is some kind of paradise, magical concept? No, it's just hormones, it's just chemicals. So if you make life about a tool that needs to help life and you switch around the importance, the value, then you will start doing things for happiness that go against what you are. And as a result, undermine your happiness because your happiness was not there for you to make it about itself. It's there to help life. And that's why valuing the right things is essential. So if you value, and then you say like, okay, so what should I value if it's not happiness? What you should value is what you are. It's, to be honest, it's logic, it's consistency. More than anything, I call it logic. Depends how you want to frame it. If you value that above anything else, on a fundamental level, if what motivates you is pure logic, then it's basically, full speed ahead. And you might say like, yeah, but what about Hitler? What if he valued logic? No, he didn't value logic. And you guys know that. Because it's inconsistent to slaughter an entire race or an entire group of people just because they have a certain belief or because they were born a certain way, a certain family. It makes no sense. There's a lot of shit that he did that didn't make any sense. Same with Aryans. I never understood, like, Hitler had black hair, brown eyes, and a fucking mustache, and the Ubermensch was blonde with blue eyes. Like, you couldn't even make that shit up. How can you even follow a Führer that has the properties and exhibits all aspects that is not the Ubermensch? It's quite fascinating, but there is an explanation. It's because people didn't care about Ubermenschen or Untermenschen. They just wanted to have a reason to exploit other people. That was the real reason. It's not making sense and logic. People love to use that argument though. Like, yeah, Thane, what if you come with the idea that it's logically to exterminate the planet? No, it makes no sense. And I explained it yesterday, I can explain it right now, but people already know that it makes no sense. Athene, is consistency based on happiness a paradox because of the fact that emotions are inconsistent? The thing is though, emotions are not inconsistent at all. Basically, everything you experience has a logical reason. The only thing that can be inconsistent, to put it that way, is your view. It's your mental image about yourself. If it doesn't overlap, you can say that's inconsistent. But even that is consistent when you really look at all the neural pathways and everything. Everything is logical. It's like you can write bad code. That doesn't make your computer broke. If you make wrong ideas and wrong concepts, that's perfectly possible with code. It just doesn't compile well, that's all. But why would you do that? Why would you run bad code if you have the capacity to rewire yourself? But of course you need to care about that. If you don't care about the truth, if you only care about your experience and your comfort, you put yourself in a situation where you're just evil. You do what is wrong and I don't give a shit about you. If on the other hand, you're really driven by doing what is right, then we have a common framework that we call reality that we can build on. But if you don't care about the truth or honesty or logic or consistency, but only about yourself, the only thing you can do is trick people to make them not realize you're a selfish douche, because else you're by yourself and you know that doesn't work. Everything your selfish needs and greed is built on is on a framework that takes care of you. What if one applies to your team, it does not pay anything, right? So what about retirement and things like that? Wait, it's because you make life about you. What if you have the ability to have a much bigger impact here? Change so many lives. When you are in the worst situation that can happen, what is it? That you don't have food? That's not going to happen in our current keep prospering society. If the worst case scenario is still a better life than most of the people, if not all the people you help, what is it that can happen? It's just an excuse. And I'm going to go a step further. Do you know that I don't own anything? Don't know if you can wrap your head around that. I do not own anything. Not this building, not a bank account, nothing. Not this computer, nothing. I don't know if you realize and wrap your head around, if they tomorrow decide to kick me out, there is nothing that I have. And you might say like, but aren't you scared? For what? The only reason why I'm here, the only reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I believe and I trust that we as a collective can achieve more. If I'm getting kicked out, I don't even want to be here. And you might say like, yeah, but what about your life? I don't care about my life. I care about what my true purpose is, which is how I can contribute to the bigger organism, just like the cells in my body. So even in the worst case scenario, if I'm laying in the little alley dying from hunger or cold, you think I will regret what I did? I'll just have a smile on my face and go like, I did what was right. I did my best. Because sooner or later, we're all gonna die anyway. At least I'll do it with a healthy conscience. Every single step of the way, I just do what is right. Even if I have to embrace bad experience, sadness, pain, it still does not compare to what I've contributed to the world. That's how I look at the world. And you say noble, I don't say that's noble at all. I think the opposite is insanity, because that's what you owe your own life to. You think if it wasn't for the people that sacrificed themselves for your freedom, the parents that gave their lives for their children, then you would even exist. You would have all this richness. We are just spoiled little kids that take everything for granted. Put life a bit in perspective. Life ain't about you, and you already know that shit. Obviously, you know that when you're truly honest. Apply to what you can apply to come over here and to work together with like-minded people to have the biggest impact you can have. Food and shelter is all provided. It's like a community, little community here of selfless people. Of course, I don't know if we're always going to be in this building. Maybe we're going to start expanding. And the common ground that binds everyone is not me or what I say. It is reality, logic, and science. Facts. It's not some empty values or empty morals. No. It's facts that define what we do. Reality. Consequences of our actions, we look, we analyze, we act without self-interest, with the best interest. That's what this place is about. We can trust each other and we just have impact. This year we will already come out with quite some really impactful projects, by the way. I think even if someone chooses to be consistent and logical 100%, should everyone focus on helping others, or could someone focus to work towards other goals and remain consistent? But what do you mean with helping others? It's not about helping others. Life is not about helping others at all. Life is about life itself. I mean, if you put your time into cancer research, for example, or AI, then you could have an even bigger impact than just going and handing food to homeless. It's about thinking and tackling the issue using reason and logic, not so much your empathy. It's about cognitive empathy, about being able to project and use reason to make your decisions. And honestly, sometimes it requires you to be very cold. If you see a kid in front of you that is begging to pay for his cancer treatment that's $1 million, you can look in their eyes and say sorry, because that $1 million can save so many more kids in Africa. You got to be able to do that if you really want to truly help. Doing what's right is not about what feels right, but what is right. Faker says, Athene, I'm here for the second time and trying to learn about what you are saying. The way you see things is interesting, but many things such as doing good are parts of religions such as Islam, Christians as well. Except you don't worship any good as far as I understood. Why is that so? You can't go along with all the things where people say just develop with time. Nothing can develop in anything. You don't need God and religion. Actually, if you watched the Real Talk yesterday, I really explained it really nice. You can perfectly deduce morals from pure logic. You just have to be consistent. That's all. And you might say, like, how can you have morals out of a universe that is just matter? No. Because you're not talking about the universe, you're talking relative to your own reference frame. Because even the universe, you can't talk about the universe if you don't take the subjective reference frame that is you out of the equation. You need a subjective reference frame. So when you talk about consistency, it's within the reference frame of you existing. So it requires you to understand what existence is. And the moment you do so, you start seeing that going at the harm of other people goes against your own existence. And when I say own existence, I don't mean you as an identity. I mean really you as an entity, which is much more than your identity, because you are the product of your environment and the environment is part of you. So yeah, when you think about it, you can perfectly derive an entire moral compass that is much more superior than any other moral compass, ethical, whatever, just using reason and consistency. But the sad thing is that even this explanation doesn't matter, because most people don't even care about arguing or logic or consistency. They just care about themselves, even if they know it's inconsistent. So even when I explain this, if you don't value the reason and the logic, then you just go like, I'm just going to close my eyes and forget about this. This is too confrontational. It is not. It's just how it is. Heroyo says, Athene, what is the best way to start with something to get another perspective for life? I'm really in a messy financial crisis and working for only 90 hours a month. Life for the moment or for the bigger good. Dude, you're already going about it the wrong way. You're looking at your own life and thinking, how do I get better? How do I get out of my financial crisis? It's not about you. The moment that it's not about you and you just put your focus, your motive is about being consistent and doing what is right, then suddenly getting out of your financial situation, you don't even care about it. You see it as a practicality. Everything else doesn't even become a problem anymore, because all the problems that are connected to you become a lot less of a problem when life is not about you. Of course, if you make life about you, then of course, everything that you think is a problem of you becomes huge. You're amplifying it. You're strengthening it. You're literally the cause of your own misery. Julie Ferrien says, Athene, read this please. No forever example. God is all-knowing and he comes down as a man and he pays the price on the cross by being crucified for knowing how to fix the problems, but not being able to be everywhere. So his crucifixion makes him be everywhere. I see you as part of Jesus. Well, then you see everyone as part of Jesus, I guess. But the thing is, though, it's not so much about your God example or whatever. It's about consistency. And I'm going to talk about God and consistency. Because the problem with the Bible is that it did have its use. I'm not going to talk smack about the Bible or the Quran or whatever. These religions were very important at the time with the knowledge we had. Because you needed a framework, a moral baseline, to put it that way, for society to work. But with our current knowledge, we don't need it anymore. We don't need the Bible anymore. Because we can derive them from our understanding, from our logic, from looking at the patterns between actions and consequences, cause and effect. And the video that I made about yesterday really explains it all really nicely. But if you want to talk about it, it's like, who is Jesus? I mean, if you think about it, who is Jesus? What is the Bible? Like, if there is an all-knowing God, let's say there is an all-knowing God, then why is the Bible his book and not the Quran or any other book? Why not? Why specifically that book? When you look at the history, you also know that people wrote the book. So why not give something like Lord of the Rings as much value? Why not just take another book? Do you know that the Mormons use many different interpretations and have their own book as well? That the Bible got rewritten over and over and over again to suit the current social climate? That it's being used as a tool to suppress people and to create order out of chaos? Which in certain situations is better than chaos. But still, today we know better. So when you talk about Jesus and God, or I will just talk about Jesus in the Bible because God is a separate conversation. Deep inside, you know that it doesn't make any sense. And this applies to all religious people that have access to the internet and heard the counter arguments. All of them, they know that what they believe doesn't fully add up. That's the beauty of the brain, you know. When there is an inner conflict, you experience dissonance. When you believe one thing, and you see another thing, you know there is a flaw in your belief. Because what are your beliefs? They're merely pattern recognition between cause and effect. The better you can recognize the patterns, the more you can survive. So if you hold a certain belief and you see that it doesn't work, reality shows you otherwise, you know that there is something that doesn't add up. And normally people don't even know that shit from each other. And that is why this biggest lie ever has never been exposed. Because people always, like the ones that are really pure and good intent and really try to understand and be honest, they project themselves into the assholes that just choose to make life about themselves. And then you have the assholes that try to take advantage of this unknown. And that's why things work the way they work. But if people that truly care know how to distinguish and understand that it's not about changing people, because it's their own choice, but finding like-minded people, just that knowledge can change the world. If it reaches the right people and these people put the required energy to process it. Because it's quite a hard one. Because all of us fundamentally project ourselves in other people to understand the world. And if you're evil, of course, you call everybody being selfish, even me. How many people think I'm selfish? I'm doing this because I have selfish desires. There has to be an agenda. He has to gain something from it. That's because you project yourself. On the other hand, if you're really pure and you look at people that are selfish, you think like, these people just don't know any better. There is no way they are like that. There is something I'm missing. And the moment you start realizing that's not the case, you become selfish yourself. But that's not the answer, because you give up. The answer is to try harder. The answer is to try and understand. And this knowledge is very, very, very powerful in order to do so. And that's why I even set up a place where people can come and organize themselves to do good. Right now, the only reason why I'm having these real talks is to find like-minded people. I'm not even trying to turn selfish people into selfless anymore, because I understand, they know. You know, there's something else that I understand. People that are selfless, right? Most people they are actually more naive than selfish people, because selfish people have a better understanding than selfless people about humans. It's quite a fascinating one. They're a step ahead. And the people that are selfless, they're just naive. And that's why they cannot see what they're doing. And when they get too much reality checks, they just become like that. But the key is, the antidote is to understand what is going on, because then you can uphold your selflessness without being intoxicated, without being taken advantage of. Because that's the problem, you know. From selfless people, the problem is being taken advantage of over and over and over again. You just go at one point like, fuck this shit. But if you understand how it works, you can protect yourself. Julie Ferrian says, reality is huge. It's too big for a brain or mind to be understood by these physical organs. They can do so much. We're all based on survival. That's the most cruel and bad shit. Even when you talk about the stuff you do, you are also shaped from your environment, want it or not, fighting it or not. You talk so scientifically is because it accepts from the world that scientists are right and have authority to be followed. No, that's not true. Scientists are not right. I'm not right. You are not right. No one is right. The only thing we can do is we can try and hope with all our understanding to come close to what reality is, if there is even reality. But if there is no such a thing as absolutes, it's not anymore about right and wrong. It's about doing your best. So if you tell me, can I do better? I would say immediately yes. Why don't you? Well, I try. I try as much as I can every day. I know I can do better, and that's why I try harder. And the reason why I don't do better, even though I know I can do better, it's not because I am lazy, but it's because I don't know. I don't know, and that's why I'm trying to figure out how to do it. But if I know, I do it. So even though I know I can do better, I don't know how. Because if I know how, I would do it. And that's why I never settle. I never go like, I'm helping people, I'm fine. Hey guys, I'm fine. No. Settling is an excuse. I always try to do better. I always try to understand. So when you comment to me and you say like, okay man, we can't know everything. We can't do this, we can't do that. You're just trying to use your binary brain to justify your own lifestyle. And you know that. Religion is very easy to justify your lifestyle. When you're really truly honest and you go to the core to your motives, you don't even care about it. If you truly care, you try to be consistent in all your actions. You try to have pure intent. And that doesn't mean you go with a measurement thinking like, oh, can I do this better? Can I do that better? With a judgmental point of view. You just go about it in a way that you try your best. And trying your best does not equal really pushing yourself, because that does the opposite. You have to go about things just as good as you can. And people love to over dramatize it and put it like, it's like, you can be a better person, you try to be a better person. It's not like, oh yeah, you can't be the best person possible at any given time because maybe you can do something better and therefore you can't do so drop it all. No, you just try to do your best at any given moment, and that's it. I mean, like, if you can improve something, you do so. If you can't improve, then you don't. You just try to constantly, with a healthy conscience, do what you can. But you have then all this fucking bullshit rhetoric, and people know it, they're full of shit. They know they're hypocrites. They know they don't give a shit. Just try to frame it a little bit, package it a little bit. It's about, if you have the ability to make a choice between something that has more impact or less impact, why would you choose the point where it has less impact? And then you can go like, okay, so where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Why not sleep less? Well, if you can be more productive sleeping less, then sure, you do so. Okay, so why not when you take a shower and whatever, really quickly take a shower, really speed it up? But it's not because you're taking a shower that therefore you're being completely unproductive. If you have this healthy conscience where you just go through life, where you try to have an impact without forcing it upon you, without judging yourself, then you can take a shower, think about ideas. There's a lot of ideas that come up when I'm taking a shit, when I'm taking a shower, when I'm just lying in my bed. I come up with great ideas all the time. It's very fucking effective. So it's not like, oh yeah, you gotta go and work in a fabric like a robot to be most productive and impactful. That's bullshit. If you go work in a factory like a robot, you're not having the biggest impact because it's being creative, having ideas, improve, innovate. That brings the biggest changes in the world, and that requires you to have mind space. So say like, so you can't have sex. No sex. No, there is really proven research that shows that having a good relationship and having sex brings about lower stress levels, brings about the ability to have a bigger impact. So it's not because you go like, oh yeah, I try to be good and try to have impact, that suddenly you overcome all of your biology. You overcome all your limitations. Of course not. You're still limited as a human body. But people use that bullshit. And I can't even mention the bullshit because I get interrupted all the time. But it's bullshit. You know it. Everybody knows it. You know every time what you can do that is right. So you can say, so you're going to tell me that you never go and watch a movie in the theaters, never go to a restaurant? No, I never do that. I only go to a restaurant when I'm traveling to Ethiopia or whatever because it's set up in the meeting because it saved the children that organized it. But I never go to the restaurant. I don't buy clothes either. In my entire life, I wore 4 pair of shoes. So when people go like, okay, and what is my life? You go to, man, that really sounds fanatic. No, I'm fine. I'm all cool. Do I live like a shitty life? No, I still live like a king. So why do you have an iPhone? You got an iPhone. You fucker, you got an iPhone. What do you... I didn't buy this fucking iPhone because I want a fucking iPhone. I bought it because I needed Snapchat to reach a bigger audience. When I think about a computer, why do I have a computer? Because that's another argument. So, you want to be completely selfish? Go to a hut. Okay, so what impact do you have if you're in a hut? Are you going to change world poverty if you're in a hut? No, you won't. You need technology. Technology allows us to overcome. It's all these bullshit arguments. Hypocrisy. If you tell me like, hey, Athene, you know, you're eating something that is really bad and there's actually science to back it up and stuff, I would change my diet. I've done it so many times. I'm not invested. And even if it's hard, okay, but it's still better. That's the thing, like when I wake up and there is something I gotta do that I don't like doing experience-wise or comfort-wise, I don't care. I just do it still. Because I know it ain't about me. If it's not about me, then why even care about, I'm really lazy today, I'm gonna sit on my ass, do nothing. No, fuck that shit. I feel lazy, I don't care about feeling lazy, I still do what has to be done. And that's the same with what parents do. Parents do exactly the same thing. If the kid needs food, if the kid is dying, they take care of the kid. They don't go like, I'm lazy today, my kid can die. People are so fucking hypocrites. The only person that can talk smack to people is me. Every single minute of my life, since I was a fucking kid, I tried to do good. I always had pure intent. And it goes really in a way that people start, labeling me as some kind of robot. Yeah, that is over. There's almost 40 people here living a very similar lifestyle and they're fucking happy. We're working on projects which we're gonna come out this year that will have quite an impact. You guys can have a huge impact without having to sacrifice your life. This selfless state is not something like, oh, I have nothing left now. No, man, it's being fucking responsible. That's what it is. Because freedom is a lie. It's an illusion. Freedom is an illusion. You can't be free when it goes at the cost of other people's freedom. You can't. Because then that's not being truly free. You can only be free when it's consistent with itself, where you allow other people to also be free. And if you live at the cost of other people, within a framework or system or whatever the fuck that exploits other people, that doesn't suddenly make it fine. And if you're just honest, you don't need laws or moral baseline to figure that shit out. You just gotta think for yourself and wonder, is this the right thing? Yes or no? And if you do, you get to choose. Am I gonna do it or not? Done.
Subscribe to youtube.com/AtheneWins. Watch the live stream at twitch.tv/AtheneLive and follow the real Athene on Snapchat.